Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here, and what I want to do is I just want to explore with all of you the role of water in shaping the future. But before we do that, I just want to recognize one thing. Our sector, the water sector, is under a lot of pressure from all sides. Climate change is driving more droughts, floods, and unpredictability. Rapid urbanization is straining aging systems already weakened by years of underinvestment. And rapid urbanization and new regulations and net zero targets are pushing us to do more with less and to do it cleaner. These pressures demand a shift in the way we manage water. We need to rethink how we use and how we reuse water, and how we can design smarter and more circular and resilient systems that can adapt to a changing world. The challenges are real, but so are the opportunities. So water touches everything. According to the FAO, 70% of all fresh water is used for agriculture. And now with climate change, rainfall is less predictable, and so food systems will become much more fragile. According to the World Bank, nearly 90% of electricity is water dependent. Climate change means water stress, and so without reliable water, we lose power security. And by 2050, it's predicted that 2.5 billion more people will live in cities, and that's mainly in the developing world. And it's not just that these populations are growing. The populations are growing up. The living standards of these people is rising, which means that the rate at which they utilize water is increasing. So the numbers are increasing, the amount of water that they need is increasing, but climate change means that there's less water, which means that we have this growing supply-demand deficit that we're trying to deal with. And according to the WHO, 80% of diseases in developing countries are still linked to poor water supply and sanitation. And this will only get worse with climate change. Now, this isn't just data. It's the foundation for why water touches everything and must be at the heart of every climate conversation. Now, water is high on many of the major global agendas. The Sustainable Development Goals, for example, water runs through all of them. But if we look at SDG 6, which focuses specifically on water, it offers something much deeper. It offers a recognition that when water is managed wisely, it becomes the lifeblood of thriving and healthy societies. When it comes to climate change, we often say that water is the medium through which we feel the impacts of climate change. As the IPCC puts it, the climate crisis is a water crisis. I often say to people that if climate change is the shark, then water is its teeth, piercing, powerful, and impossible to ignore. And it's not just governments. Businesses see the risk too. For nearly a decade, water ranked in the top 5 global risks for businesses, as articulated in the World Economic Forum report. Unpredictable water supply, rising competition for water, and climate-driven disruptions all make water a material financial risk. So yes, water is recognized on all these major agendas, but recognition is not the same as doing something about it. And attention doesn't always mean investment. And that's the gap that we need to close if blue gold is to become more than just a metaphor. So if water is critical, then why isn't it treated that way by most governments? It's because us humans, we tend to act after disaster strikes. We're very reactive by nature. Things do happen in response to water crises, but too often they happen in the wrong sequence. As the former UK Prime Minister Harold Macmillan once said, when he was asked to talk about what derails governments, he said, "Events, my dear boy, events." In other words, we respond to shocks, not signals. What we need to do as a sector is reverse the sequence so that political attention and motivation lead to prevention and preparedness, and not, as is still often the case, to rescue and recovery. It's always more expensive. We need to reframe how we think of water, not as a cost, but as a platform for sustainable growth. Water isn't just a service, it's a pathway to health, equity, and well-being. And if we tell this story with conviction and with evidence and with vision, I'm sure we can unlock the investments and innovation we desperately need. That's how blue gold really becomes real, with a bold narrative. So water is vulnerable, but like all vital things that come under pressure, water's vulnerability shouldn't weaken it. On the contrary, it needs to strengthen it and drive innovation. And we are seeing this. Huge transformations are taking place everywhere. We see a move to more circular approaches where we use water multiple times, where we recover products from our waste streams, and where we use more nature-based systems in our solutions. We're beginning to move beyond viewing water as just a resource, but we're starting to think more about the productive use of water. What is it we want the water to do for us, and how can we match the quantity and the quality to that intended use? Do we need high-quality drinking water for everything? Clearly, no. Of course, drinking water has to be pristine, but for flushing our toilets, for irrigating, for cooling, we can use different grades of water. And if we think like that, then we can reuse water multiple times in a cascading way. Hence, maximizing the productivity by doing more with less. And water's role doesn't stop with efficiency. It includes flood resilience too. Across cities, we're using nature to redesign landscapes with permeable surfaces, green buffers, retention basins, and we're turning excess water into a managed resource. These systems reduce risk, but they also deliver co-benefits. They recharge our groundwater, they make our cities cooler, and they improve our public spaces. So water isn't just something to protect. It's what holds everything together. It keeps our climate stable, our food growing, our energy flowing, and our economies running. That's what blue gold really means. A great example of the productive use of water is the West Basin Initiative in LA, in Los Angeles. And this was developed in the 1990s to deal with severe water scarcity. Now, what they do in LA is they take wastewater from the city and they create these different flavors of water, or what we call designer waters. And these different grades of water are used by different industries. One quality of water for irrigation, another quality of water for industrial cooling, another quality of water for artificial aquifer recharge. Now, by matching the quality to a purpose, the system maximizes the productivity of water, while at the same time reducing the overall water footprint. It's a modular plug-and-play design that allows flexible treatment trains that deliver these different qualities of water in different quantities. And this is really a hallmark of smart water reuse. The West Basin is really a great example, and it shows what's possible in this blue gold narrative. But it's not only about grey infrastructure. There's a growing interest in nature-based solutions, especially as climate adaptation tools. They're already widely used in water management, from source water protection to urban drainage to flood control, and even wastewater treatment and reuse. In this slide, you can see nature-based solutions are being used to close the urban water loop. at the same time restoring ecosystems and enhancing the quality of life. Now, the public love these systems. The people generally like to be surrounded by green things rather than concrete. It's only engineers that like concrete. But for engineers, these nature-based solutions present challenges, as they're often unpredictable, they experience seasonal variability, and there isn't really clear guidance on how to design them. We tend to use rules of thumb. And their benefits, like biodiversity, cooling, and recreation, are real but hard to monetize, affecting our ability to articulate the cost benefits of such systems. So while these systems will be the future, we need to do better in terms of the science that underpins them and also how we value them. This is a challenge moving forward. So whether it's advanced reuse or nature-based solutions, the innovation is happening. But scaling takes more than just technology. It takes leadership, trust, and the confidence to act. And the good news is that in many places, we're already doing this. So if we take a look at a few places where they're shaping the future of water. In Singapore, they have their 4 national taps, which includes wastewater reuse, rainwater harvesting, and desalination. And this is really a model for security through diversity. By building a resilient portfolio of water sources, they're not only reducing their vulnerability to scarcity, but they've also laid the foundation for reliable long-term economic growth. In Chennai, in South India, you have the 6 kudums. Kudums means pot. And it's another strong example of building a diverse water portfolio. This was developed during the severe drought in 2019, and the approach enabled the city to maintain critical operations, including keeping the major car industry, which is a big industry in Chennai, running. And this was thanks to reuse and circular thinking. We also see examples of how decentralized or distributed systems can enable effective reuse and resource recovery. There are many good examples, but here you have Oceansharm, which is in Sweden. And they've reduced their water footprint by over 50% by having this closed-loop thinking. The black water from this estate and the food waste are co-designed to produce fuel for local buses, while the grey water is used to generate struvite. Struvite is a phosphorus-based sort of fertilizer. And their treated sludge is also repurposed as a soil conditioner, turning waste into value at every stage. So these are not experiments, they're real-life examples of how well-managed water systems can support fair and future-ready communities, showing that water isn't a cost, it's a catalyst. This is really what we would say blue gold in action. Proof that water systems can build resilience, equity, and growth all at once. So to close, I just leave you with this thought. Water isn't just a victim of climate change, it's a powerful climate solution. It's not just a cost to manage, but a catalyst for resilience, innovation, and growth. So what if we treated water not just as a resource, but as our greatest ally in a changing climate? I think the future is blue. Thank you very much.